welcome to In Conversation with DBC. Today we are joined by Ben Williams, who is a triple jump athlete who represented Team GB at the Olympics in Tokyo 2020. We're just trying to get a bit of background information on you, Ben. So just give us a brief introduction to who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so you pretty much said it all there. I'm Ben Williams. I'm GB #1 triple jumper, Olympian as of last year. So that's how but yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
Yeah, brilliant. So we're going to take you all the way back to the start. So can you give us what was Ben Williams like at school?
At school, he was a little bit of a geek, especially high school. Once I sort of grew into myself at college and university, I became a little bit more of Jack the Lad type guy, I suppose. But in school, I was a little bit. I was studious. I cared about my grades a lot, and didn't really revise a great deal, but was very attentive in class. And I was definitely not sort of the person I am now. I'd say university was a big step for me, though, because I went to America for university, so 4,000 miles away from home. I needed to grow up fast. I was still quite childish, and that just sort of molded me into the person I am today, I suppose. So yeah, I think throughout school, obviously you get older, you grow, but I definitely grew as a person throughout the education system, for sure.
Can you tell us a bit about your experience at school? You mentioned there that you went to university, but when you was at school, did you go to college, anything like that, sixth form?
Yeah. So I went straight from high school into college, and during this time, I'd sort of found my stride in triple jump also. So I knew that's where I wanted to go. Whereas in high school, I wasn't quite sure. So because leading into college, I knew that I wanted to be this triple jumper. This is the route I wanted to take. My studies kind of took a back seat, and that definitely showed in my attendance and in my grades. So I've gone from this super studious person to not really attending and not really caring as much. Which now later on in life, looking back, I definitely do regret. But I still got to go to university. I still got to take that step from college and go out to university. So it wasn't all bad, but it just meant I had to do an extra year at college, which I didn't really want to do.
What sort of age would you think that you sort of realised, actually, I'm very good at triple jump. I could make a living out of this?
It would have been during the final year of high school / first year of college. I became the world youth champion, and I thought, and I started making a little bit of money from it then, and I thought, well, if I'm making a little bit of money now, in a couple of years' time, hopefully we could be making a lot of money. Didn't quite work out the way I planned because of many injuries, etc. and so forth. But I knew from quite early, age 16, 17, that this is something I can do, and this is something that I want to do.
And triple jump, to a lot of people might not even ever actually.
Yeah, it's rogue. It's rogue.
It's quite a unique sport. What made you get into that?
So basically, it's I saw Jonathan Edwards, who is a British guy, world record holder. I saw him win the Olympics. I only saw it on the news because it was in Sydney, and obviously time differences, etc. and so forth. So I saw it on the news, and it just looked like he was floating to me. Like aesthetically, it looked incredible. So I was at my grandparents' house at the time. So my granddad took me onto the front lawn, and he showed me the movement of the hop, the step, and the jump. Now I'm 8 years old at this point, so there's no real sort of opportunity to pursue triple jump. I'm playing football, and I kind of just put it to the back of my mind. But then I was always sort of the quickest in school, and I always did the long jump at the school athletics competitions against the other schools, And the teacher came to my sort of group of friends who were the sporty ones and said, does anybody know how to do the triple jump? So I put my hand up and said, yeah, I know how to. I'm not quite sure how good I'll be, but I know how to do it. And I went down there, and in my first competition, I ended up breaking the Stoke-on-Trent schools record, and thought, well, maybe there's something here. So kind of went into a little bit of training there with the local coach at Northwood Stadium, which is my local track. And he then became my coach for 12 years, and we had a couple of years later World Youth Champion and a couple of British Championships just after that.
It's fairly impressive, isn't it? So you just sort of
not too bad.
It's quite good. And you mentioned earlier that after college you actually went on to university, and your university experience was very different to sort of what many people listening might do. So can you give us a bit of detail about that and what you actually did?
Yeah, so basically I was a funded athlete in the UK, age 17, 18, 19. And due to injuries, I actually lost my funding, which put me in a position where for the first time in my life, well, not the first time in my life, actually, that's a lie. But for the first time in a number of years, I actually had to work to allow me to train. And I got given this opportunity to go out to America, where they were going to pay for my tuition fees. It was a full scholarship. Everything was paid for. And for me, the main reason for going was not necessarily the education, but the fact that I would be in a place where I would get free medical, free physio, free treatments. And that was so important to me at that time, because I just lost all of that through losing my lottery funding. So the opportunity arose, and I was like, I've got to take it. And at the time, I was such a homeboy and such a mummy's boy that I was like, am I making the right decision? Am I going to have to fend for myself out here? And thankfully, I took the opportunity with both hands, went out there, and it was genuinely the best experience of my life, and it really made me grow and mold me into the man I am today. It was really good. I studied exercise science out there because it was something which I already had a background in, and I knew that I could go there and study, and I got a little bit of that at high school Ben back, the guy that did care about his grades, but it was also something which I knew a lot of already, so I could definitely go there and concentrate on the jumping and not just be bogged down with schoolwork constantly. So I think that was a smart decision on my part to study something which I already have a background in.
The whole university sports sort of thing in America is crazy, and how much money and effort they put into it. It's like,
yeah, it's insane. So my university was actually, at the time of me going, it was the highest grossing university in terms of college sports. We just won the basketball national championships. We won a thing called the Rose Bowl and the American football championships. And the amount of money that was being pumped into the school at the time was fantastic. And what was great about the school is the money was sort of fed, not evenly, of course, because track and field isn't going to get the same sort of budget as basketball, but track and field saw the benefits of basketball doing really well. And I think that's a great thing about the school. And part of the reason as to why I chose the school, that as well as it having a fantastic jumps coach specifically in the track and field sector was a reason why I chose it. But yeah, there's also nothing else in Kentucky. There's no professional team. So you either support University of Kentucky or University of Louisville. I was University of Louisville, and the rivalry was fantastic. It's almost, it does feel like a Man United, Man City type rivalry. And it's a fantastic atmosphere to be in, for sure.
That's great. Yeah, I'm very, very envious of like their team over there compared to like RP lessons sort of thing. So that's great. So you went to university, and then what was next? What was next for Ben Williams after university?
Well, after university, I came home. I finished my degree out there, and I came home. I knew I didn't want to stay out in America. I wanted to be back home with my family. Like I say, I'm very much a mummy's boy. Not so much anymore, but I'm definitely a family boy. And I wanted to be back home with my family, having seen them probably for a total of 6 weeks and 4 years. It's I wanted to get back and start my life back home with my girlfriend and see where things go. So I got back and didn't have a job, of course. So I decided to just take part-time work as a shoe shop sole trader. Just whilst I was sort of finding my feet, getting by, and that gave me the ability to train also and do what I wanted to do. Alongside this, I was actually doing a personal training course, which I then became a personal trainer. And I think that was a fantastic move for me for my jumping career, because it just allowed me to have so much freedom. I could work when I needed to work and when I wanted to work, and not overcook myself. So my training was then, taking a back seat. My training was definitely the main priority. And then once I was finished training, I'd go and I'd personal train for the rest of the evening and make enough money to get by and allow me to train full time.
That's great. So like I say, we know 2020 you was in the Olympics. What the build up to that? What sort of time did you think, I could actually get in Team GB? How did that sort of come around?
Yeah, so 2019, I had a fantastic year. I had an absolutely amazing year, 2019. I was personal training at this time. The year before, my coach, who I previously mentioned, he had retired. So I made a move to a coach in Loughborough. Now, I was still based in Stoke-on-Trent and traveling to Loughborough, 4 or 5 times a week. So it's an hour there, train, an hour back, and then PT. And I've done a couple of radio shows, and luckily, I was very lucky that a great gentleman in my life now, Nigel Chell, who works at JCB, was listening to the radio, and I was sort of, pushing my personal training to see if I could get any clients, not believing it would ever happen. Now Nigel Chell was listening, and he got in contact with me, and I was personal training Nigel, and we built this really great relationship. And sort of, I'd say late July, right before I had real great success in triple jumping, late July, Nigel spoke to me about the potential of JCB sponsoring me, which would allow me to not have to personal train and concentrate solely on triple jump. And I don't know whether it was this discussion that really motivated me, but I then a couple of weeks later had a really sort of breakthrough jump of 17 meters 14, which was the Olympic qualifying standard. Now, of course, it's the year before the Olympics, but it still carries over. So I'd say from that point, then I was like, I can make this Olympic team. And then 2 weeks later, I improved my personal best to 17:27, which at some Olympics has won medals. So I'm thinking, this is a really great position to be in. We then signed a contract for JCB to sponsor me, and that just allows me to train full time. And to this day is the reason I'm still able to train full time. So yeah, the personal training, Nigel, has really changed my life.
That just shows you, don't it? You put yourself out on the radio,
For sure, yeah.
That sort of thing, don't you? Like,
yeah,
someone's listening, and it just seems like fate, those sort of things.
Of course. He said he rarely listens to the radio, Stoke, as well. So, the fact he was just tuning in that day, and all the stars aligned for me.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. And then, obviously, we just got to ask you, how was it to actually represent Great Britain? There can't be many prouder moments in your life.
No. It's definitely the proudest moment. I was disappointed in the way that I performed. There was a couple of variables there. Obviously, it was a weird situation where you always imagine going to the Olympics, an amazing crowd, but COVID saw to the fact that there was no crowd. It was just athletes and team coaches, and it was quite a weird, surreal experience, because this is the biggest stage of them all. Yeah, I've had bigger crowds at random meets in the UK. Do you know what I mean? It was quite a weird experience. But performance aside, I loved every second of it. I loved every second of becoming an Olympian, getting that kit, wearing the flag with pride. It's definitely the proudest moment of my career so far.
And I think I know the answer to this from what you've said prior, but have you ever had a plan B? Have you ever sort of planned for maybe this didn't work?
No. So my mum wanted me to go out to America for plan B. And I was like, well, I only really care about plan A. That's what I want to do. And I think the fact that I had such great success at a young age, and that was just off talent and not really working overly hard, I knew that once I got my head straight and used that talent correctly and began to work hard also, that I could achieve what I wanted to achieve in the sport. So I always had that belief that I could do it. And I think that if I had a plan B, maybe I wouldn't have put everything into triple jump the way that I did.
I think, like I say, with podcasts and autobiography and stuff, you hear a lot of athletes say similar, that they've never had a plan B. And that's that sort of elite mindset, isn't it? I think that that's how people get to the top of their...
For sure.
Can you give us have you had any challenges, really big challenges, and what's probably the biggest challenge you've ever had to overcome in your career?
Yeah, so I think the big challenges I've had were both surgeries. So I had a pretty big surgery on my patella tendon in 2018, ended up coming back in 2019, my breakthrough year, I suppose, breakthrough senior year. I ended up jumping 17 meters, 5th all time in the UK, and 5th or 6th, I can't quite remember actually. I really bounced back from that in a positive way. Unfortunately, in 2020, late 2020, at the end of November, I had to have surgery on my ankle, and we were just rushing to then get back to form for the Olympic Games, and there just wasn't enough time. So I think that was a situation where I don't get me wrong, I did overcome the adversity, because I still made the Olympic Games when I potentially shouldn't have, having had surgery 5 months, 6 months before it, and only really triple jumping and training maybe 2 months before the games. So I didn't really have the run into the games which I needed to have. Yet I still had to go out there. I still had to win the British Championships with this, recovering ankle. I still had to do X, Y, and Z to ensure that I got my spot at the games, and I did all of that. I didn't do what I wanted to at the games, and I think that is mostly due to the surgery. But I'm definitely proud of the fact that I didn't give up. I made the games, and that's I'm always going to be an Olympian now. The next step is to do slightly better in Paris.
I said no one can take that away from you. I think obviously when you have success, people think it's just, oh, he's got there, smooth, but people don't see the like the grind.
Oh no. Yeah, I think I think a lot of people may have stopped if they had my career, but I kept pushing through. I kept working through, because I knew I hadn't achieved what I set out to achieve, and I knew I was good enough to achieve what I set out to achieve. I think those were key factors, just that self-belief.
Yeah, I think that's a good message as well for like people. Like I say, obviously we deal with people who maybe haven't got the grades they wanted, or they haven't got the career they wanted, and that sort of reflects on if you keep grinding, just keep working.
That's it. Yes. Yeah, so last year I had my distances were the worst distances I've had in 8 years. This year I've come out and I've jumped my 3rd furthest jump ever already, and the season is only just beginning. It just, obviously we can only go by a year by year thing with athletics, because that's when the seasons are. But it can literally change day by day. It can change week by week. If you just because it's going bad today doesn't mean it's going to be going bad tomorrow. Yeah, no,
I think that's a great example for people. Anna, you did touch on this earlier. Who is your biggest inspiration? Role model, maybe?
Biggest inspiration? Okay, so my previous coach, John Crotty, he's a huge reason as to why I'm still... He sort of ingrained in me that sort of grit and determination and the ability to just push through and work hard. But also, in saying that, I do believe that may be a hereditary trait, because all of my family, mum in particular, is so hardworking. So my hardworking family inspire me to follow in their steps, really, and work hard, although very different avenues of work. Hard work nevertheless. So my previous coach, my granddad, who first taught me how to do the hop, step and jump out on the front lawn, and again just my hardworking family.
Absolutely. And could you tell us, right, say if you were to speak to 16-year-old Ben Williams, what advice, knowing everything you know now about the work, about triple jump, what advice would you give him?
It's quite easy, and invest in Bitcoin early. Get in there.
It's crashed, hasn't it? It's crashed.
Yeah, but I know when to get out, so it's all right. No, what I would say regarding triple jump is, it's okay not to be motivated 100% of the time. You're never always going to be motivated, but it's so important to be disciplined. I think as a youngster, because everything came quite natural to me, I was when I didn't have the motivation to go and train, I didn't. Whereas now, I am the guy where I'm not motivated all the time to go and train. Nobody is motivated all the time. Yeah, I'm very disciplined. I will do the work, and I'll do it to 100% of my ability every single time, even when I don't want to do it. And I think those days when you don't want to do something, yet you get up and do it, are the days you feel most fulfilled. And it's also the day you're going to get the most benefit out of the work you're putting in, because you're still going there, you're still getting the job done.
I think that applies to any workplace as well, don't it? Like,
for sure.
In an office job, really, but sometimes you don't always come in feeling like, you want to come in and do everything you need to do, but
exactly. But if you're disciplined and you get there and do it, you feel much better at the end of the day for getting that work done. And also you make your life easier by not putting work off, and everything just becomes easier too.
Absolutely. And then last question, what do you have planned for the future?
That's a tough question, because I'm going through that sort of thought process myself at the minute. I am coming towards the back end of my career now. I feel like I've got two years left in me, and I want to go out on that. I feel like I could potentially have 4 years left in me, but I want to go out when I want to go out. I would like to go out after Paris, but I'm taking it year by year. If this year doesn't go the way I want it to go, I'm an Olympian. I'm going to the Commonwealth Games later on this year. Hopefully I get my gold medal, which I believe I can do. And we can, ride off into the sunset potentially. But if it goes the way I want it to go and the way I plan for it to go, then we'll be hanging around until Paris, and we'll call it a day then. In terms of what I'm going to do after athletics, I suppose that all depends on how well I actually do over these next few years. If I do well enough to put myself in a position where I can stay within the sport as a coach or whatever it may be, then I think that's what I'll do. However, I do believe that I want a year away from it, a year away from the sport completely, where I can just not think about it, not focus on it, and just live a normal life and go from there.
No, you think you could ever return to personal training, perhaps?
Potentially. There's always that option. I think maybe for the year when, maybe for that sort of year period of no athletics, doesn't necessarily mean no, sport and working out and whatnot. But yeah, I think maybe we see what happens at the end of the year. I'm quite a spontaneous person, so we'll see where the road leads.
Between the Commonwealth Games and Paris, you've got some exciting plans, haven't you? So, like I say, we wish you all the best, Ben. Thank you so much. I think there's some very good lessons for anyone in any field of life. Obviously,
for sure.
Field jump, triple jump doesn't apply to everybody probably listening.
No, it does.
A lot of lessons and sort of philosophies there that you can abide by in any sort of walk of life. So we appreciate that. Thank you so much, Ben. And all the best.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.